please, if you can, subscribe to the channel. Only 20% of people who watch my videos are subscribed. By subscribing, it gets this message out to more people. All of this content I put online for free.
Yay!
It's in the hope that it helps people who can't otherwise access the help that they need. So by supporting me, supporting people just like you. So we're recording this live, and then it will be available on the app for anybody who wants to practice afterwards. And I'm monitoring the comments here so I can see bits and pieces. When we do the practice, I won't get to the comments as quickly. So I'll be practicing with you. So one of the really important things about guided meditation is that the practitioner is as much part of the practice as the participants. It's very important that this is not a scripted session. It's a felt sense of the body and the presence in terms of my interaction, the practice, and the hope that that also helps you guys to practice. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to finish with a guided meditation session, which we're going to do predominantly nasal breathing. First of all, I'm just going to talk a little bit about nasal breathing and why it's important. What's the science and what's the neuroscience in terms of what we know about well-being? One of the simplest ways to start is if you were to be startled wherever you are right now, if there was somebody was to come in through the door unannounced and you were surprised, if you think about your physiological response to the surprise, we breathe in through our mouth when we move into an element of fear or surprise or startled. So the startled response is, and we suck the air in through the mouth. And as you suck the air in through your mouth, your nervous system, through your vagus nerve, is notified like a little alarm bell. Something's not right, move to fight and flight. So the inhale through the mouth is a startle response. And we know from human physiology that the inhale through the mouth especially is a secondary response mechanism that should only be used if the nasal passageways are obstructed or not working. So in a startled response, we don't inhale through the nose. You don't get surprised and go, that would look a bit weird, but it's also not a natural response. So when we move to nasal breathing, we're actually slowing down the pace at which we're breathing because we just don't have the capacity in the same way as to take it in through the mouth. But what's interesting is we've generally, to large degrees, moved to about 40 to 50% of the population now breathe out through their mouth as well. So some people might breathe in through the nose and breathe out through the mouth. But in terms of removing that stress state in the body, if we're breathing in through our nose and out through our nose, we're really telling our nervous system right now in this moment, everything is okay. So maybe just as we're sitting here and we're preparing, just kind of drop into that sense of in through the nose, out through the nose. And there's lots of compelling science that we could talk about for couple of hours on this topic. But one of the most important things that I hope to get across is when we're nasal breathing, we are retaining more carbon dioxide in the system. And for many, many years, there are fantastic natural health spas all around the world where they have these carbon dioxide pools where people will go and sit in them, and they'll have the carbon dioxide bubbles bubbling away, and that will have a healing effect on the body. But what's really important to know is that we have this immense capacity to produce carbon dioxide within us. We also produce another gas called nitric oxide, which is also really important in terms of regulating blood pressure. For men, it's important in terms of erectile dysfunction. And it's also helpful in terms of mood and mind. And these really work effectively through nasal breathing because we have chambers in our respiratory system when we take air in through our nose where these oxygen exchanges occur, and that helps overall well-being. There are really interesting studies into how nasal breathing affects so many other areas of our body, but we're just going to stay with these points this evening. And also, when we breathe through our nose, we slow down our respiratory breathing. Question there. I think I'm a very shallow breather, so breathing practice can feel quite different. Yeah, okay, brilliant point, Lindsay. I'm going blind, so I have to use my glasses. Lindsay, I'll come to that point in a second if I don't, remind me. So when we're breathing and we are nasal breathing, we slow down the amount of breaths we take on average in a minute. And if you're feeling stressed, if you're feeling anxious, you generally breathe more. And we often refer to this in the physiological terms of overbreathing. So by overbreathing, kind of agitate the nervous system, or alerting it to the fact that there's a stressor. When we underbreathe, we alert it that things are calming down. And most human beings are breathing somewhere between 12 and 14 breaths a minute. People who are stressed or people who have chronic anxiety, who may be prone to panic attacks, or just high levels of stress in their day, in their week, in their day, in the environment, your breathing goes up and it can go to maybe 18, 19 breaths a minute. When we drop it right down to 6 breaths a minute, that's known as the recovery breath. And if you ever watched a hospital drama, you'll see when they bring somebody into the emergency room and somebody at the top, one of the physicians at the top, will be helping them breathe with a bag, and they'll squeeze the bag down and they'll open it up and they'll squeeze the bag down. And this is an initial entry point in an emergency room. If you ever listen to them count, they will count 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. So that's 4 seconds in, 6 seconds out. So we have this recovery breath that is immensely valuable for human beings, which is as simple as breathing in for 4 seconds through the nose, breathing out for 6 seconds through the nose. And it helps our nervous system know that everything is okay. And often in the event of very serious accidents, it's the breath that reanimates the human body. The body, teaching it through making the body breathe by the physician's help to know that the body should reanimate right now because everything is safe. We don't really know why or what this number means or how it all works, but we've discovered this. And actually, if you go back to some really old pranayama techniques, it was always in through the nose, out through the nose. So I'm going to show you a little exercise first, which you can use whenever you want, but it works really well on days when you're feeling particularly stressed, if you're feeling overwhelmed, and it is really speaking to that recovery breath. It's how we really slow down our nervous system, and it's how we increase the carbon dioxide into our body and reduce the amount of oxygen that we're taking in. So it's very, very safe, so don't panic. The only people I would ask not to do this if you're in the first trimester of pregnancy. Don't practice this breathing breath. You can practice the meditation afterwards. But all we're going to do is mimic in many ways what you might see when somebody is having a panic attack, and we would give them a brown paper bag and they'd cover their face and they would breathe through the brown paper bag. So they recycle the same body of air, and through that recycling, they increase the carbon dioxide, they decrease the oxygen, they slow down their breathing, the nervous system starts to move out of that fight and flight state, which is the sympathetic state, and they switch over to the parasympathetic state, rest and recovery. You can practice this whenever you want, and this version that we're going to do is really quite nice, especially in the evening time. It's really helpful if you're struggling to sleep at night. Try this 20 minutes before you're getting ready to head off into the land of Nod. And all you're going to do is we're going to take our hands and we're just going to cover our face. So you're just breathing into this chamber, which you're now created with your hands. So you're just cupping over your face and just focusing on breathing in through your nose and out through your nose. We're just going to do it for 2.5 minutes. I'm going to set a timer here. And what I want you to do is just to bring the count of 4 seconds in through the nose and then 6 seconds out. And what will happen is in about 60 seconds in, maybe 45 seconds, it feels a little bit uncomfortable. So just try and muster through that, but just take a little bit more air in, a little bit less air out, and then it will feel a bit easier. You'll feel warm in the body, you'll feel warm in the upper body. We're 35 seconds into it now. I'm not doing it, so I can help you guys understand how to do it, but just hands over the face, create a little pocket for you to breathe in there. So you're just breathing the same volume of air. You're just counting in for 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then you breathe out slower. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. So just bringing that sense of breathing and presence and the counting. So just noticing, paying attention to the numbers, counting in. It gets a little bit challenging, and that's okay, that's normal. Then it will just allow your nervous system to know, okay, we're calming down. It's 1 minute, 45 seconds. I You can see iPhone de Louisa is practicing, so well done. So just keep the practice. Feels a little bit kind of spacey after a while, which is okay. So you're just increasing the carbon dioxide in the body, and then you just feel the nervous system start to come down. If I'm sitting looking at somebody when they're doing this, at about 2.5 minutes, your eyes just get a little bit glazy. And it's just the nervous system now moving into that rest and recovery. You may start to notice some more saliva in and around the mouth. And that's because rest and recovery is also rest and digest. So the body prompts saliva to the mouth, and we increase the saliva in the mouth because the body is now saying to you, ooh, I feel very calm and safe right now. So this would be a really good time to have a nap or to eat some food. So we're really just tapping into the most primal parts of what we're doing. So last 10 seconds. And when we stop, just reconnect back into nasal breathing. So don't take your hands away and go to the mouth. Just keep breathing through the nose when we take it away. So if you've been practicing, you can just stop now and connect back to normal nasal breathing, and you can take your hands away from the face. So interesting to see how anybody felt about that. Was it hard? It can be a little bit difficult at times. You kind of go up a bit of a hill, and you get to the top of the hill, and then it just can feel a little bit nice in the body. So pop your comments into the chat. Let me know. Maybe you didn't feel anything, felt something. I don't know if I think you guys can talk on here. So if anybody wants to talk, let me know how they felt. Let me know. Sleepier, wonderful, feel relaxed and calmer, fab. A little challenging halfway in, but also very relaxing at the end. Lovely. Yeah. So what happens as we go into it, the respiratory system starts to notice that everything is slowed down. It also notices that we have more carbon dioxide coming in. So it's doing a kind of a readjustment and a reassessment, and it's looking at how is your nervous system right now. And in particular, it's focusing on your vagus nerve, and it's then making the decision, where do we go? Is this stress that means we should be in fight or flight? Or is this actually not stress? So it starts to notice that the space and time in which you're breathing is so slow that it's okay, and it tips into rest and recovery, and you calm down. Did anybody feel the saliva in the mouth? So that's always quite fun to notice. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, it's interesting. It's quite incredible. And interesting to notice how we have this capacity to have an instant impact on our nervous system. It also allowed me to breathe more deeply. Yes, more saliva too. Yes, exactly. So, and that reminds me, thank you for that reminder, the more deeply breathing, okay? So belly breathing is super hard for people, and especially when we're stressed. When we're stressed, we breathe into the upper reaches of our respiratory system. And for a very simple reason that we take in short breaths. We want to stimulate the nervous system to move us into fight and flight. The body produces adrenaline and cortisone, and we're now hypervigilant. By using this 4 seconds in, 6 seconds out, it can be helpful to place a hand on the belly and then notice as you count that the air is going down into the belly. And when we do our next little practice, what I want you to kind of notice is we're going to keep under breathing. So we're going to be breathing in for 4 seconds and out for 6 seconds, but very subtly. So again, if you go back to the original teachings of pranayama, we have taken this idea of taking a deep breath in, okay? And people see that as a deep breath being a deep breath is the depth of the breath in terms of dropping it down through our diaphragm. And it's actually shallow and subtle. So it's not shallow that we just do it shortly, but as we breathe slowly, 4 seconds in, 6 seconds out, without putting pressure on our system. And if you place your hand on your belly, you will notice that the air drops through quite easily. So just having the hand on the belly. And a way to try and do this to understand how the practice works is, imagine if you had a piece of tissue paper under your nose. And you're going to breathe so subtly that the tissue paper wouldn't move, both on the inhale and the exhale. And the more subtle we breathe, the easier it is to actually have the air traveling all the way through and down into the diaphragm. And we're going to have that as part of our practice. Let's go to the questions here. If I try and count my breath, I usually get distracted, have difficulty keeping it. Cupping my hands helped. Yes, I felt the saliva and also made me aware of my bunched shoulders. Fantastic. So posture is a really interesting thing as well. When we're practicing, especially when we practice nasal breathing, it can be really helpful to kind of have your posture so that almost in a way that as if there was a string that was just lengthening the body and pulling us up to the ceiling so that we have more upright posture. That really helps us to get that nice diaphragmatic breathing, to get that air down into the belly, and it helps our nervous system down-regulate. Hunched shoulders. So when we do a little bit of guidance, I'm going to start now, we'll do 10 minutes of meditation. I'll just talk a little bit about posture as we're going into practice. What does it do to the body and mind if you hold in between the in and out breath and the out and in breath? So if we're breathing absolutely perfectly well, which is for many of us not how we breathe, we actually have a natural gap between our breath. And if anybody has a dog, watch your dog breathing. You'll see them breathing in, you'll see them breathing out, and then you'll notice there's a pause. Oh, there's a dog on hand, ready. Well done to Louise. Ready to go to join us, right? So I think he's asleep though, or just very happy on his back. But when you watch your dog breathing, there's a gap. So they breathe in, they breathe out, and then there's a natural pause, and then they breathe in and they breathe out again. And we also have that within our respiratory systems, that we have this kind of shelf. So the breath goes in, the breath goes out, the breath goes in. So there is actually a pause. Now, anybody who's ever struggled with stress or anxiety or depression and has dysregulated nervous system for a period of time, they'll struggle with that pause. But don't worry about it. You can get it back. And nasal breathing is one of the best ways to do that. There's a whole bunch of meditations on my YouTube channel. So if you go to YouTube and just look up Justin Caffrey, there's a whole raft of free content over there in terms of nasal breathing, some guided meditations specifically focused at nasal breathing, like what we're going to just do now, so that you can practice it on a daily basis. And especially after kind of 7 to 10 days, you will start to feel the difference in how you are feeling, and they're guided as well. So to go back to, who was it there? Ellie. So guided meditations are the best way to go. There's a whole series of meditations on here that I recorded for David and Stephen on the app. So you can go and use them. But guided meditations just make it that much easier because you have something else to focus on, and it keeps bringing you back to the attention. So as a meditation teacher, I am not interested in empty minds. I'm not interested in no thoughts. What I'm interested in is noticing that your mind has gone away somewhere else and you're off in the present or the past. And then when you notice it and bring it back to the meditation, that's a moment of mindfulness. Lindsay's watching her dog too. Well done. So we've got lots of dogs in hand. I've got 2 as well, but they're outside because they don't meditate very well. Okay, so we'll do a little practice. It's coming up to 28 minutes past. So what I'll do is I'll do practice for about 7 or 8 minutes. Little guided practice focusing on nasal breathing. Everybody's welcome to join. We're not going to be clasping our hands or doing anything like that. We're just going to be focusing on 4 seconds in, 6 seconds out. And I'll give you some reminders of that as we're going. But just getting yourself to a position where you're comfortable to sit. Ideally, as I said, if you can be upright for nasal breathing meditation, it is more beneficial. And if it feels comfortable for you, you can just close over your eyes. And as we close over the eyes, just connecting into the nasal breathing. So just starting off and noticing that 4 seconds in. And the slower, more gradual exhale, 6 seconds out. And I'd like you to just focus on that. And keep that pattern going. And I'll come back and help you and remind you as we go. And as you're sitting there, maybe just noticing posture to start. How are the shoulders? Can we soften here a little bit? Focusing on the breath, just noticing, are they upright? Are they too tight? Can we just let them down a little bit, soften? You're just noticing the hands resting on your legs or resting in your lap. Is there tension there? Are you still holding on to the day? Can we soften here a little bit? Maybe just bring a bit of movement, stretch them out a little bit, and let them settle. And just noticing the breath again. Breathing in for 4, breathing out for 6. And it's normal for your mind to wander off in Another direction. Am I doing this right? Or worrying about something that happened today, or concerned about later on or tomorrow. It's just what the mind does. But just gently guide it back to practice of nasal breathing, meditation here. 4 seconds in, 6 seconds out. And then maybe just noticing contact points of the body as you're sitting there connecting to the breath. Noticing the support from the floor or the chair. Noticing where you're sitting. Maybe you contact your bum on the floor or your chair, your back, lower back, legs on the floor. Just keeping that connection back to the breath. 4 seconds in, 6 seconds out. And just getting the feeling of weightedness from gravity here as we're being held here in this seated position. And just bringing that intentionality to the breath to really slow it down, and remembering if there's a piece of tissue there. On the inhale, we're breathing so subtly it doesn't move. And on the exhale, we're breathing so subtly that it doesn't move. And just using the count, 4 seconds in, 6 seconds out. Again, just noticing where the mind is going to, and just bring it back to this practice. This body being supported as we breathe. This practice with the nasal breathing connection. 4 seconds in, 6 seconds out. And just noticing the tissue paper. It's very subtle, very soft. 4 seconds in, 6 seconds out. And as you continue to breathe, maybe just checking in with the face. Again, we can bring tension from our day here. So eyebrows, forehead. Is it furrowed? Is there tension there? And just seeing if we can soften here a little bit. On the exhale, just kind of softening and letting go a little bit. Like a melting of ice to water. And just keeping that nice practice of 4 seconds in, 6 seconds out. And moving down to the eyes and just noticing if we're holding them too tightly closed, just soften again. Gently closed over. Scan down the face and to the jaws. Again, we can have a lot of tightness and holding here. As we rest into the jaws, just bringing the attention back to the breathing. 4 seconds in, 6 seconds out. And just bringing a sense of ease and softening and letting go here in the jaws, upper jaw, lower jaw. Just noticing again if there's holding, tightness. The mind will wander away and just bring it back again. Back to the connection, the breathing, 4 seconds in, 6 seconds out. Again, just noticing the body and the contact on the floor or the chair, the support, the hands and where they're resting. Notice the belly, breathing. And just notice some ease that you brought in to your nervous system through the simple act of paying attention, slowing down, breathing through your nose. And when you're ready, you can open your eyes. So I hope that was okay for you guys. Let me know how you get on before we finish up. Any questions on that? Please feel free to pop them into the chat. Lovely and relaxed. Questions, just feeling lovely and slowed down and relaxed. Fantastic. The tissue paper idea really works. Yeah, it's really good. Not my idea. Won't claim that, but it's very helpful. I've been in fight and flight today. It's just what I needed. Yeah, I mean, this is like the best way to just drop straight out of there. Great. Thanks so much. Much easier. Breath in for 4, then out for 6, deeper in the end. We'll keep it up. Yeah. So it's harder to breathe out than in. But we want to breathe out for longer because I use my phone as an example. Our respiratory, so our heart and all of our vital organs are protected around our rib cage. So this diaphragm is there to protect. When we breathe in, so if this is my heart, when we breathe in, what happens is, well, this way, the heart goes inside the protected cage and it's now in a restricted area. So it beats faster on the inhale because it has a restricted area. When we breathe out, your heart drops out and now it has a much wider area and it can beat slower because it's not restricted. So the exhale allows the respiratory system to give the heart the sign to let it drop out, and it breathes slower. So we call vagal tone, which is how we measure how receptive our vagus nerve is, which is that switch between fight and flight and rest and recovery, is a measure of the heartbeats between the inhale and the exhale. And when you exhale and your heart is now in an unsafe area, so if I was attacked right now, on the exhale, my heart is in a fleshier part of my body. Your entire nervous system knows you're safe. If somebody comes at me and surprises me, I will go, and on that inhale, everything is now protected by my rib cage. The battle armory is up, and the nervous system's in fight and flight. So we want to exhale longer because we're really emphasizing to the nervous system, down-regulate. Does that help to maintain normal blood pressure? Yes, it does. And again, nasal breathing as a practice, incorporated with meditation, has got some very good clinical studies looking at how it impacts blood pressure. So it can help us reduce blood pressure. And again, with nitric oxide, which often is not produced when we're mouth breathing. And a lot of the times when we're chronically stressed, and I lived my life chronically stressed. So there was a whole period in my life where I was in through my mouth, out through my mouth. So not actually getting enough nitric oxide into my system and not retaining enough carbon dioxide. So that is just an exchange of gases that doesn't allow your nervous system to down-regulate enough, and in turn prompts you to feel stressed. So really good data to support how blood pressure can be impacted by the simple mechanics of breathing. So thanks, everybody. And as I said, if you want some guided meditations on this, go to the YouTube channel, and you will find some nasal breathing guided meditations. I might actually, let me see, I can probably find the 9-minute one here, and I'll pop it into this chat, because it will be very much in line with what we just practiced. 9-minute guided breathing. YouTube link in here, so you guys have a chance to practice it. When I'm working with people on a one-to-one basis, this is one of the practices that I will give them, and you can practice it as many times as you want. And I would just recommend that it's something you practice on a daily basis. Oh, stop my YouTube from too many noise. Copy a link here. See, this is really pushing my technical abilities now to move between YouTube and here, but I think I did it. Okay. So there's a link. It's a 9-minute guided meditation. Try it out. It's very similar to what we just practiced. I'm very much focusing on that tissue paper, 4 seconds in, 6 seconds out. And that kind of low, slow breathing. There's an acronym for this, which is low, slow, and deep, which is LSD. And people talk about that whole idea of just feeling a little bit high when you're on supply. And this is actually really quite different to the Wim Hof breathing. Wim Hof breathing is upregulating your nervous system. If you're prone to anxiety, Wim Hof breathing can really make things a whole lot worse. When people have anxiety, when they have stress, people have depression, down-regulating is quite helpful. So it can be a very soothing way to end the day. I practice it first thing in the morning, and I practice it at night. My practice, which is 10 years old, is 15, 20 minutes in the morning, 5 minutes at night. Really produces phenomenal results, and after 2 to 3 weeks, most people will notice a significant change in how they feel. So give it a go. Let me know how you get on. And I thank you all for joining me on a Friday evening. So thanks for everybody who's been here, and then anybody who watched the recordings. If you have questions, just come back to us through the app, or you can drop me a note on the YouTube video. I pick up my comments every few days. So if you've got questions after you practice it over there, just pop a question on and I'll happily answer it.